I'm Mark Dolan, and this is Dolan on America. America's most famous medic behind Dr. House, Quincy, and Doogie Howser MD, and a man arguably more fictional, Dr. Anthony Fauci, has appeared on Joe Biden's in-house TV channel, or as I like to call it, CNN. Their decoratively named host, Michael Smirkonish, Larry David without the jokes, broke with tradition and featured some actual data on this government-approved channel. Take a look.
And this graph shows how the current rise in hospitalizations compares to past surges, less than half the numbers this time last year and still lower than they've been for about 80% of the pandemic. But if things get worse, it may be hard to get people to revert to an abundance of caution.
Wow, when did this channel suddenly decide to indulge in those pesky things called facts? After all, during the pandemic, with its backing for lockdowns and mask and vaccine tyranny, CNN became the COVID news network. But now some rare balance, better late than never. So how does Fauci, a man more slippery than a porn star in a sauna, get out of this one?
There's no doubt that masks work. Different studies give different percentages of advantage of wearing it, but there's no doubt that the weight of the studies, and there have been many studies, indicate the benefit of wearing masks.
But there are other studies, studies which are worse than the Cochrane Review, which is the gold standard. And where can these bad studies be found exactly? Probably in the same massive warehouse containing Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction and a draft screenplay for a sequel to the all-female Ghostbusters reboot. He goes on, or should I say, he keeps on digging.
When you took at the broad population level, like the Cochrane study, the data are less firm with regard to the effect on the overall pandemic. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about an individual's effect on their own safety. That's a bit different than the broad population level.
Wait, this looks like hiding in plain sight to me. Fauci, who, let's be honest, is now a politician, not a medic, says in relation to the pandemic, the mask data is not strong. Wow. But it works great for the individual. How does that work exactly? On an individual level, the masks are effective, and on a pandemic level, they are not. That's like saying condoms work on an individual level, but when lots of people are shagging, they all get pregnant. Sounds to me like that mind-boggling word salad is basically Fauci's way of dribbling out the truth. It's hardly a ringing endorsement for those filthy muzzles, is it? Something that earlier in the pandemic he recommended against wearing. Of course he did. Well, the great news is that statistics suggest this time round Americans will not comply with any further illiberal measures like masking. According to a Gallup poll, public confidence in the US medical system has dropped from 44% to 34%. Could that be because Americans were subjected to expensive, ruinous, personal liberty shredding measures like lockdowns and vaccine and mask mandates that didn't work? You tell me. Well, a man who, if he wins next year, may be running the country from Alcatraz, Donald Trump, shared his views on the prospect of yet more COVID authoritarianism. The problem Americans had during the pandemic is that they complied with the restrictions in order to make them stop. But their compliance meant they never would. And the COVID zealots are back, seeking more economy-destroying, society-wrecking, un-American measures. These people returning with their siren calls for restrictions is like your abuser once again tapping on the bedroom door. This time, folks, just say no.